Startup advice for a hangar wedding venue. How cool is that? An airplane hangar. That is wicked. So it's a private jet company. They obviously got to store their planes somewhere, and the last few years they've received a bit of interest on running events, and they've ran a few events here and there, and now they're wanting to take it a bit more seriously. I had a look at their sort of DIY website strapped together. While it was a rubbish website, I got a sense of what it could be, how interesting this is. Now, I have spent quite a lot of money on Google ads. I have spent quite a lot of money on Facebook ads in this space. So I know this space quite well. I think combined it's about 10 mil that I would have spent on Facebook and Google ads for wedding related key terms. Now, not necessarily just wedding venue, but wedding photographers, wedding suppliers and things like that. So a lot of work, a lot of data has crossed my desk since 2016. So the first thing I started saying is, hey, okay, let's have a look at your marketing asset. I understand you want leads, you want events, we want conferences, product launches, birthday parties, but definitely I can see weddings, and weddings would be pretty cool or something like that. So let's have a look at your foundational brand assets. And there wasn't any. Everything was just pulled from Canva, some basic logos. And so initially I was trying to get an understanding of how busy do you guys want to be? Is it like one event a week? Is it 5 events a week? To get an understanding of, normally on a business like this, you need some sort of a brand kit, some sort of a process to design the logo, design the brand, from which I can then begin designing the website. And then as you go along, you want this barrel to dip into to pick out your brand files when you're having some sort of marketing collateral created. You might want to create some flyers, email signatures, real baseline stuff. This is like the branding skeleton that you can always lean on. That way your website and your brand over the years won't look like it's been sticky taped together every time Canva did an update and released a new template. So that was the first direction, is branding. The second one was foundational media that captures like the essence of the location. So a good example of this is another wedding venue that I look after. When they first opened up, they would have forked out some good money for some styling, for a decorator to come in. Actually, 2 venues did the same thing. They hired actors, and they basically, that thing that you are good at and that niche that you want to specialize in. One of the venues is like just a magnificent Vogue type chandeliers, that sort of Peaky Blinders, grand ball type location. I got married there. I loved it. Had the best day of my life there. So I fell in love with the place from its initial images, and I was like, there's no way we can afford this place. That's literally my thought when my wife showed me those images. And so that motion was connected right from that main banner image. And when you see it, if you know this venue, you'll know what I mean. It definitely got me hooked. Now, it might not hook everyone, and it doesn't, right? Because some people want a wedding in the wineries, they want a city, they want water, they want different things. So double down on the thing that you guys are good at doing, and that's what I told them. You went down the path of generating some AI images with a 70s plane or an 80s plane from almost like a bomber from World War II or something like that, and it was just this big plane and then tables underneath, and I got that vibe. It'd be really cool to have that kind of vibe. So my suggestion was, next time you guys deck out the place, you have a function or an event, and you feel that they've allocated some money to properly get the place decked out, go fork out some money and get a photographer out there, get a videographer out there. Bonus points if you chip in a bit extra and deck out the place further. Bonus points if you deck out the place one day before and hire some actors to come act out a wedding, right? Because on the day, not everyone wants to be captured for marketing photos. But basically start with that foundational media that we're going to be using to run on the website, on the ad, on the Facebook ad, on the Google ads landing page. So these are all the conversations that I have before we discuss SEO. It's like SEO is definitely a must. That'll work. It's a long-term strategy. Google ads is a no-brainer and Facebook ads is a no-brainer. So all 3 are a no-brainer. Some people just want leads ASAP, and some people were like, yeah, no, we don't want SEO. I reluctantly do that because what a lot of the time happens is at the end of the year, Well, the 7 months, it's you guys spend all of this money. It would have cost you just a little bit more, and then you would have started to get organic leads. But there's no wrong or right way to do this. Google ads, I feel, are a must in this space. Google ads and then Facebook ads. So do a 50-50 split. For something like a air hangar wedding venue, airplane hangar, Facebook ads will initially get some eyeballs. Like, whoa, I didn't know this was an option. This place. And then the Google ad will have a good effect, but normally when people search for wedding venue, the high percentage of those is looking for your typical reception venue, right? So I definitely think Facebook will create an interesting experience. So the branding's done, hypothetically. Foundational media's done, and this stuff might cost a bit. You have a nice banner video on the homepage. You've got some professional photos. I had a look at some photos taken from events, taken via the phone. Yeah, you have that little gallery at the bottom. Next phase is optimizing your Google listing. Now, there's already another business listed there. Can't have two in one location. You can if they're in completely different niches. In this case, they are, but we still need to write suite 1, suite 2, ideally. I've just seen scenarios where multiple businesses, exactly the same address, one kept on getting filtered out, and every location is different. So foundational brand media, foundational photos and media, so logos, branding, Google listing set up, then list out all of the services, all of the events that you want to host, Christmas parties, conference, function rooms, wedding venues. There's all your pages on the site. Now, if we're going to kick off SEO, we're going to go after the process of organising a wedding venue, the process of picking out wedding suppliers, how to choose different wedding suppliers. In other words, earning Google's trust. These days I'm seeing 6 to 7 months for a fresh site to begin coming out of Google's sandbox, which is the trust period. About a year to really start getting some really basic traffic from organic listings. No doubt we can show up at the top of Google Maps pretty quickly. If there are 10 to 15 Google reviews in the first few months, the Google listing is optimized, and of course the address will be shown. I don't imagine there'll be too many other wedding venues in that area, but who knows, there might be. This is where some basic competitor research is required. So from an SEO campaign in dense areas of Sydney or Melbourne, that could be a direct SEO spend of $3K upwards to get some meaningful results in a year. A Google ad, $2 to $3K a month, starting at least at $1K a month on a Google ad. If leads are roughly sitting on $100 to $150 per lead, right? These are just conservative figures I'm making up. It all comes down to how many leads do you want. Now, these guys might only want just weekend weddings. That's what, 3, 4, 5, 6 events a month. Maybe during the weekdays they're busy, it's not something that they can organise. So it just depends on what their goals are. That will depend on the ads and Facebook budget for the first year. Some months, like a lot of my campaigns do, they switch on the Facebook and Google ads, they up the budget, they pick up the leads they want, and then they turn off the Google ad. The wonderful thing about Google and Facebook ad is it's like a tap. That's the goal. SEO is not easy. Once you pick up the leads and they're just coming through, they're rolling through, there's not much you can do. What a great problem to have. Not a good idea to stop SEO 3 to 4, 5 months in. The velocity of links falls, the velocity of content added to the site falls, and then content ages after a while. It needs to be refreshed and things like that. So it just depends on the goals. But what I find is if the goal is for this venue, this location to be constantly pumping weddings, SEO kind of never really gets shut off. There's definitely a delayed effect since things take 6 or 7 months, but then it's also a delayed catch up. So in simple terms, told this wedding venue to logo, branding, foundational media, the first venues, for the first weddings or events that they host, make sure you attempt to capture it as much as you possibly can. Use that as your marketing collateral, and make sure each of your services is captured well so people can envision what their event might look like at your location. Otherwise, it's a pretty simple local business campaign, just quite competitive. If it's a smaller town, we just simply need to rip apart the competitors that are gunning for our key terms, have a look at their backlinks, have a look at their pages, have a look at their blogs, and get an understanding of what we need to do and how long it's going to take to outrank them. Hope that helps.